taking control.
Disturbing production.
American culture in the last 15 years or so has had a bit of an obsession with the macabre. We look at people who perform unspeakable, evil acts and demand that we be given an explanation. Despite what some may say, we are a very detail-oriented species and often revel in finding every detail, every reason behind what someone does. So it's no surprise that people are so often fascinated with serial killers. Today, we will be covering the top 5 serial killers. 5. Ted Bundy. First on our list is Ted Bundy. Handsome and dangerously charismatic Ted Bundy kidnapped, raped, and murdered many women in 7 states between 1974 and 1978. His MO was usually to impersonate an authority figure in order to gain a woman's trust before attempting to lead them somewhere secluded so that he could carry out his dark deed. The man would often go back to the scene of the crime in order to groom and perform sexual acts on the corpses. He was eventually captured in 1978 in Florida, confessing to at least 30 of the homicides and supposedly connected to even more. He was given the death sentence and executed by the electric chair later that year. 4. Tsutomu Miyazaki. Tsutomu was a Japanese serial killer known as the Otaku Murderer, who killed 4 young girls between August 1988 and June 1989. The man was born with a deformity that caused his hands to be fused to his wrists permanently. If you know anything about modern Japanese culture, you would know that things like disability and mental illness are heavily looked down upon, and thus the man was severely ostracized from society. He selected his victims at random, often calling the victim repeatedly before the crime. He would send detailed accounts of the murders in letters to the victims of the families. After killing his victims, he would sometimes consume body parts or drink their blood, giving him the name Dracula in the media. When he was arrested, over 5,000 videotapes with various horror films, anime, and other Japanese media interspersed with pictures of his crimes were found. In court, he tried to claim that an alter ego known as the Rat Man made him commit the crimes, but the court upheld that he was aware of the consequences of his actions, and he was later hanged. 3. Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is the most well-known name for an unidentified serial killer, generally believed to have been active in the largely impoverished areas in and around the Whitechapel district of London in 1888. The name itself originally came from a man writing to the press claiming responsibility for the murders, who referred to himself as Jack. His victims consisted of mainly female prostitutes whose throats had been slit and their abdominal areas mutilated. Investigators often noted that the cuts and mutilations were done with surgical precision, implying the man had medical knowledge. He's also been connected, or at least allegedly connected, with the mysterious paranormal entity known as Spring-Heeled Jack. While the details on these murders are a little fuzzy, as all things are as time passes, it's still one of the more terrifying killers out there. 2. Jeffrey Dahmer. It's safe to say that Jeffrey Dahmer is one of the most well-documented serial killers to date. As a child, Jeffrey grew up in a bit of a turbulent home. It's often cited that he was a little neglected by his parents, often left alone to his own devices. As a young child, he would often collect and mutilate small animals. He committed his first murder at the age of 18. After this, Dahmer would go on to murder, rape, and dismember 16 more people over the course of several years. As his killings continued, the gruesomeness of the murders became worse and worse, with later killings involving cannibalism and necrophilia. Jeffrey was eventually caught and convicted of 15 of the murders he committed. He was sentenced to live in jail, where he would later be beaten to death by another inmate. 1. The Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer is definitely the most well-known serial killer on the list, and one of the few that remains unidentified. Dubbed the Zodiac, a name given to him after letters he sent to the press containing cryptograms and ciphers, he claimed to have murdered over 37 people. However, only 7 murders have ever been confirmed to have been from this killer. His victims ranged in age from 16 to 29. In cryptic letters, only a few of which were ever decoded, though the first claimed that if they were able to decode them, they would find out who the Zodiac Killer really was. It's odd. The man didn't seem to have some sexual fetish in his killings, but rather enjoyed not only the attention the media gave him, but the thrill of making it a game. The Zodiac Killer's story has been adopted since then to many books, movies, and TV shows, and remains today one of the most frightening and mysterious serial killers in America.